Welcome back to the GPLama YouTube channel, where I've returned to find a number of interesting updates that have been rolled out to ZWIFT that are definitely worth looking into. Firstly, Game Client version 1.69 has a few quality of life updates that you definitely need to know about. ZWIFT have also attempted to make a few changes under the radar that I'll put the spotlight on today. And just yesterday we received some news that everyone's been waiting for regarding virtual shifting on the Wahoo Kickr version 4 and version 5, but it's probably not the news you wanted to hear. All right, let's get stuck into all the details, starting off with what's new in 1.69.
Okay, the full changelog has been posted over on the ZWIFT forums, which I'll put a link to in the video description below if you want to dig into all the details about what's changed. Let's have a look at the important ones though. Starting off with what they're calling the steering force field. And you can see on screen here, as I hit the edge of the steering limits, a little force field will pop up just to my right or to my left, depending on which side of the road I'm on, indicating that I can't steer any further. Now I do have to be pressing down to try and keep steering, if that makes sense. So they're not always on screen when you're on the edge of the steering limits. So it just gives an indication on screen that you can't turn any further. A little quality of life update there from ZWIFT. Okay, on to a small but significant update to the pairing screen functionality, and you've probably picked it already. I'm continuing to move. Now in the past, pulling up the pairing screen means your bike comes to a dead stop, regardless of how many watts you're producing. But now, if you are producing watts, you'll continue to move forward. If you don't produce any watts, your bike will stop, and you can do a bike swap and things like that. But this means if you need to repair a heart rate or your controller or something other than your power source, and you can still produce watts on the pairing screen, you won't lose your position in the bunch, you won't get dropped from Coco. And as I'm showing right here, I've unpaired my heart rate strap. So let's just say I've started my ZWIFT ride and I've forgotten to pair my heart rate strap. I can pull up the pairing screen, search for my, search and continue to, oh, come on. Okay, there we go. Coros heart rate strap is there. It'll do its thing. No signal, and then signal, and okay. And without missing a beat, in regards to moving forward, I now have heart rate on screen. A very, very welcome update. And just as a reminder, if you do need to do a quick bike swap, pull up the pairing screen and don't pedal, so 0 watts, and you'll still come to a dead stop. Next up, and you can probably see me swerving around on this, there's a new paint job on the Tron bike. So the default basic bikes on ZWIFT can now be painted, and they resemble pretty much the ZWIFT ride. So the Tron bike in the past was always black, but now we can change that. Alrighty, so pulling up the pairing screen and not pedaling, so I do come to a dead stop. Therefore, I can change frames. Let's go to the garage. So menu, garage, frame, and the ZWIFT concept. And down below there, we've got an option to black or white. Now, in addition to this, the TT bike, the baseline TT bike, gets a few options. The carbon bike also gets a different coloured seat post if you so choose. And the aero bike, which I think is an early unlock, can also go from black to white as well. But as we all know, most people will be on the Tron out of all those 4 bikes. And this new one looks pretty cool. Now jumping to the next significant change on ZWIFT that they've kept very, very quiet. But as you know, the internet and quiet, they don't go together. Eric over on ZWIFT Insider has a great article here that he's called Leveling Ain't Easy, because in a nutshell, ZWIFT have increased the XP level requirements. What does that mean? Well, it's harder to get to level 100. As always, I'll put links to this excellent article in the video description below. What you need to know is right here on screen with this interactive little chart that I'll try and decipher just quickly now. So a little while back, when we only had level 60, back in September 2022, all you needed is 750,000 XP, and there you go. Level 60, you were top of the pops. Jumping forward to December 23, when they released level 100, all you needed there was 591,000 XP to get to level 100. So it was easier to get to level 100 than it was to get to level 60. Fast forward to today, and yep, leveling up ain't easy. Well, ain't as easy as it has been. You now require 807,000 XP to get to level 100. It's worth noting there are a number of exceptions to this rule if you're part of the level 60 club or the level down here club, and your account is on an XP acceleration through to wherever. But in a nutshell, it's harder to get to level 100. And as a comparison, the new level 85 is about equivalent to what was level 100 a few weeks ago. Now, regardless of the changes they've made here and how complex it is, look, if your luck is like mine, you'll get to level 99, just as Zwift changed this again. It's always the way.
Okay, on to another update that rolled out under the hood last month, and this is Game Launcher version 1.1.13. Now the launcher is, well, as it says, it's the launcher for Zwift. It's not the actual game client, and this is only on Mac and PC. So we have to update this a few times a year, and initially you've got to download that manually to get the update. After a few months, they'll roll it out with the auto updates, but if you want to get ahead of the curve and install this, jump over to zwift.com/downloads, download Zwift again, which will pull down just the launcher. It will update that, and you are good to go. It won't pull down the few gigs of the ZWIFT Game install if they're already updated. So the changes to that, error messages will no longer reference an internal file path that's unhelpful to troubleshoot, and improvements to internal logging and error handling. Now, this is not a mission-critical update. If everything is working, you are good to go. But if you're like me and you want to be ahead of the curve, I'll put links in the video description below that you can grab this and do a manual install. In a few months' time, they'll probably push this out, as they do with all the other automated updates. And finally today, pulling up an article over on Zwift Insider that Eric has recently published in regard to virtual shifting and which trainers support virtual shifting. Now, the devil is in the details here. There's a quote from Fusion Media, which is Wahoo's media agency, and they state, Wahoo has analysed the hardware and software capabilities of both the Kickr V4 and Kickr V5. Unfortunately, these older models are unable to support the required protocols for Zwift virtual shifting and will not be receiving a future update for this functionality. Now, winding back on this one from memory, they rolled out virtual shifting to the Kickr Core, Kickr version 6, and Kickr Move, and Wahoo did state that it would be coming to the V4 and V5 trainers in the near future. That was around 6 months ago. People have been expecting this after that promise was made, and asking, and there's the answer right there. Now, of course, a statement like that, which walks back their previous promise, causes a bit of this online, and there's been a few people asking me to get angry on their behalf, but it's entirely out of my hands. It's up to Wahoo to manage this one from a PR perspective. So I'll be keeping an eye on how they handle this one, and if there's any updates on this, I'll be sure to update you in the near future. Okay, we'll leave it there for today. That's what's new on Zwift with Game Client version 1.69. Those sneaky changes they made to those leveling up and XP requirements, and some unfortunate news for Wahoo Kickr version 4 and version 5 owners. And as mentioned, I'll see if I can get some more details on that. But for now, that's it, right on, and we'll see you soon.